My girlfriend saw our friend. I've made several posts before, mostly video that tend to be contentious, but never really gone and explained our many experiences living in this apartment. So, to start off, I'm going to explain my visual experiences with our friend. The first night it happened, this all started towards the beginning of September for me, waking up about 3 or 4 in the morning to use the restroom. I opened my eyes to see my girlfriend, standing in the hallway towards the bathroom, just standing there. As I was focusing my eyes and about to ask her what's the matter, I realized that she went to bed with a red shirt on, and not the white shirt that I see her in now, and her hair isn't as long as what I'm seeing before me. She was stooped over, hair draped down and looking at the closet. Of course, seeing this fully wakes me up and makes me sit up in bed to see nothing there. My girlfriend, laying in bed beside me, asked me what was wrong, to which I explained to what I just experienced. Now, I didn't want to scare her, so I rationalized what happened as my brain was waking up. I saw the white wall next to the brown closet door and just matrixed it into a person. The second time I saw a friend was a couple of weeks ago. This time she was next to the bathroom door and actually facing me. I was actually able to see a face. Very nondescript, average face, with the same white outfit on and black hair, but her mouth was open. Then last week, as I was coming back from the bathroom, I saw what looked like a silhouette of a head poke around the corner and look at me. I saw no facial features, but it just appeared to be a head poke around and go away as I stepped back for a moment. Seeing as it wasn't something I was expecting to see in the middle of the night, it took me by surprise. Now, for my girlfriend's experience last night, she woke up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom. See a reoccurring theme happen here? Anyways, as she was rounding the bed, she looked towards the hallway to the bathroom and sees a small silhouette of a person. She says that it had the height of a child. What she first thought was that of a hanger. There was a clothing being hung from the closet door, but our closet door does not have the type of handles that you can hang a hanger from. They're the small circular insets that you can barely put your finger in to open or close the sliding door. She had a weird what the hell type feeling from it as she walked past it. She said she kept her head down as soon as she got into the bathroom and after as well, not wanting to look at it. I'm just wondering if we have two different friends with us, one being more mischievous than the other. Weirdest moment of my life. This is the one moment that made me question everything I believe. This happened in September 2010. At the time, due to the recommendations of a friend, I was reading a book by Robert Anton Wilson called Cosmic Trigger. Within this book, the author was describing over the span of many years his exploration into the art of induced brain change and the methods and practices he had experimented with. This included yoga, meditation, drug use, satanic ritual, you name it, he had explored it. In the book, Mr. Wilson describes one particular method he tried, the invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel, a ritual devised by Aleister Crowley, to which he awoke to strange visions, linking him to the Sirius star system, and some strange messages, and in turn giving him the eternal question of what on earth happened. Was it a god? Aliens? His own mind? Read the book, it is fucking amazing. Now, Mr. Wilson had described this as chapel perilous, a psychological state in which an individual cannot be certain whether they have aided or hindered by some force outside the realm of the natural world. With this, my own story begins. I awoke one morning after reading Mr. Wilson's book until late and had visions of a dream I had that night in which I was carrying my own glowing child and had strange visions of a playground in my hometown and the golden skies surrounding us. When I shook the dreams from my hair, I decided to roll with this, as it could be a prophecy, and assumed I could one day have a daughter, and began within my thoughts to name this unborn child. I went about my morning business, and I was listening to some music of mine on shuffle randomly, the Bob Dylan song Isis, playing, and with my naming mission in mind, I listened intently. I liked the name Isis. It was different, and I never met anyone called Isis before. Aside from that, I noticed within the song, Dylan mentions pyramids. I then searched about Egypt and Isis, and found that she is the mother goddess, the goddess of motherhood, fertility, magic, death, healing, and rebirth. In Egyptian mythology, she had resurrected her dead husband, Osiris, god of the underworld, and she was mother of Horus, the sky god. I felt, due to the nature of my dream and the naming of the child, that this was a fitting coincidence, and thought it is strange it randomly played that morning. This is by no means the end of my strangest day of my life. I then tended to my houseplants, and as I watered my Spathiphyllum, a peace lily, I decided upon a full name for the girl would be Isis Lily. Feeling accomplished, I then left the house headed for the city. Upon arriving at the train station, I saw a hippie girl on the platform rolling a cigarette. Usually I'm not the type to approach people openly, but on this day I felt different. So I went over and advised her that she would be fined by a member of the station staff if she smokes in here, and would show her where the smoking area is. We got talking as she smoked, and she was taking the exact same train as myself, so naturally, we sat together and continued the conversation during the hour-long journey. The conversation got really open, and we were talking deeply about life and things you would never really talk to a stranger about so comfortably. This comfort led me telling her about my dream, and the child I dreamt of, and that I spent the entire morning thinking of a name. When I told her that I decided on Isis Lily, she looked totally freaked out, and asked me, "Do you know me?" I looked back like a deer in headlights, shocked by her aggressive tone, and replied, "No, not at all, why?" Her name was Isis Lily, and her father named her after the Bob Dylan song. My jaw hit the floor, and the bearings of my comfortable little reality crumbled around me. I was clawing at the thin ice. Was this the message of some god or goddess, aliens? Coincidence? What are the odds of that? Not only to meet an Isis that day, but to meet Isis Lily on the day of that profound dream, after reading of a similar experience. This was my very own Chapel Perilous. I will forever be left with the question of that day, the cosmic trigger. Never will I entirely believe one way or the other. If I learned anything, is that we should never totally believe or disbelieve entirely of anything. The universe is much larger than any of our maps. The one day something totally inexplainable can and will happen that blows your grasp on what is or is not completely out of the water. Please feel free to comment or message me with discussion or similar personal stories. The Massacre down the road. Okay, so there's a few things you need to know to understand this story. First, in the 1800s, Indians killed a family for invading their land and strung the dad's head on a tree. This is the two parts, the woods and the apartment. So, when I was 10 years old, my family moved to these creepy old apartments. At first nothing happened, just good old quietness. Then we got a Ouija board. We used it like 3 times and put it away forever. The reason was this ghost took over and repeated the date September 8th, 1983. After that, things slowly started getting weird. At first, it was just things dropping, basically things that could be explained. But then real quick it escalated. Lamps would turn on by themselves. My mom would have terrifying dreams. My dreams would come true minutes after I woke up. Things would legit fly across the room. The creepiest thing was, my 2-year-old brother would talk to the man in the coat. It wasn't just my apartment. When I went over to my friend's house, we were all in his front room, and his bedroom doorknob started shaking. When we walked by it, it stopped. We opened the door and nothing was in there. The windows weren't open or anything. Now, to the woods. Remember the head strung in the tree? We would go in the woods and find a Barbie head in the tree. We took it down many times. It would always go back to the exact same place. Another thing in which it happened is that we would see a thin black shadow, either staying still and watching us or dashing across the woods. It wasn't just me. 6 other people saw it too. On top of that, a man would always say, "You have talked to the spirits." Me and my friends would say, "Yeah." My sister and he would say, "No. The real ones who protect the woods." It doesn't stop there. When I moved to Nevada, there was another ghost. Well, my nightstand had 2 shelves, a top one where I keep my pictures and a Superman car model, and a second one where I keep my comics. I went to sleep, and when I woke, my comics were on the floor. My Superman car was moved to where the comics were, and my pictures were knocked over, and on the other side of the stand. Well, that's all, and I'm sorry if this was kind of long, but those are what's really been happening to me. My whole family shares an experience with me about a haunted game. Okay, well, I don't think the game was haunted, but we received a message through the game. This was September 17th, 1992, or 1993. I think I was about 8. It was my little brother's birthday, and my family and I just got back from the park. My mom, my big sister, big brother, and little brother. On the way back home, I thought it'd be a fun idea to make a birthday card for my brother using a game on the Super Nintendo called Mario Paint. For those who are not familiar with the game, it was an art studio game that came with a mouse and mouse pad. There is a coloring book mode in the game with 4 different pages, one being a birthday cake. Anyways, so we all get home, and I run to turn the system on, and the game starts up like normal, where it says the title, and you have to click Mario to start the game. The screen fades to black, and instead of cutting to the guys doing sit-ups, there's text on the screen that says, "Please wait." I also want to mention that this game was on a cartridge, not a disc, which means it doesn't load. We were all sitting around waiting for a few minutes, frozen by curiosity. We all knew this wasn't normal. After what felt like forever, the screen changes straight to the coloring book page of a birthday cake already decorated, and specifically read, "Happy birthday, Will. Love you, Aunt Rain." My aunt died in a car crash only a month before. This was the first person in our life to die. We all sat there in awe. I freaked out and turned off the system myself. I don't remember what we did right after that or talking about after that. Throughout my life, I would ask my older siblings if they were messing with me, but they swore up and down that they didn't. My brother used to make stop-motion cartoons with the game and a VHS, so I thought he was playing a prank on me, although I knew I turned the system on myself. Recently, my father was found dead, and I've been severely depressed over losing him, and losing my younger brother a few years ago. My older brother reached out and asked if I would go with him on a day trip for work, so we could talk. I told him how I lost my faith in religion, but still searched for something past life. He told me he had a few paranormal experiences throughout life, and knows there is something past death. He told me of all his stories, and included the Mario Paint story. It was exactly how I remembered it, not a slight difference. This got me curious, and that same week, got my mom and sister's version, which also had no changes. They didn't remember as much as my brother and I, but they didn't add any information or change a single detail. I just think it's crazy that over 20 years, 4 people are able to tell the same story with no changes and never really having talked about it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post. I'm curious if anyone else has had an experience with a video game, or even the same game. I've heard urban legends, but nothing seems legit to me. They just all seem like creepypastas, to be honest. Thank you for reading, and sorry for all the typos. I'll get my husband to edit it in the morning. The woman I've never met. This happened over this weekend, September 8th to 10th, and you'll need this backstory to make sense of it. A year ago, I met my current boyfriend and things were going great. I had met his mother, but I had yet to meet his brother Sean and his brother's girlfriend Kiera. Fast forward to Thanksgiving weekend, and my boyfriend called me frantic and with a shaky voice began telling me that there was a terrible accident on the highway between his hometown and the next town to the east. That accident had involved his brother's girlfriend Kiera. She was DOA. Over the next month, we spent a lot of time in this small town, supporting his brother, helping in any way in which we could. Honestly, we didn't know how to deal with this. Hell, we didn't know how to help him deal with this. And we ourselves didn't know what to do. After she passed away, as a celebration of life, Sean and her parents chose an oak tree sapling to plant on the property that my boyfriend and Sean's family owns. We call this her spot, and I've built a small fence around the tree to mark it off in the winter months and have a bench nearby so we can sit with a small fire pit about 10 feet away. Jump to this weekend, I was compelled randomly to go walk to Kiera's spot and have a seat. I sat, I began talking out loud, asking her if she could hear, and so on and so on. I began thanking her for being the person she was, despite us never crossing paths when she was alive. I told her I missed her, and that we all do. I asked her to help Sean, as he continues almost a year later to deal with the loss of a love of his life. I sat in silence for a few more moments before saying goodbye, and began walking back to where my boyfriend was doing some work. As I reached about 10 feet away, I heard someone say, "Wait!" Felt a rush of warmth around me, and I was overwhelmed with a feeling of love and gratitude. I don't know what to make of this, but I believe that this was Kiera thanking me for helping the people and taking care of the people she loved so much in her absence. Met a man who died 7 years ago. This is a glitch in the Matrix crosspost. I went back home for a friend's wedding. It was summer of 2015. I live on the other side of the country. I'm friends with the bride, and I've never met the groom. I don't smoke, except sometimes when I'm drunk. And weddings are made for drinking. So, I come in from having a smoke. Their wedding reception is on the second floor, and there is a staircase leading up to the second floor. A guy comes up to me before I ascend the stairs. He asks me what wedding I am at, and I tell him. He hands me an envelope and asks me if I can give it to them. It simply says "One Love" on the front. I say yes, and carry it on up the stairs. I go to take a leak, and the bride's father is in the washroom. I hand him the envelope, and proceed on with the night. Fast forward to March of 2016. I'm on my way to go skiing. Where I go skiing, there is no cell reception because it's in a mountain pass. So I always check my cell phone before I enter the pass to see if I have any messages. I check my phone, and I have a message from the bride of the wedding. "Do you remember what the guy looked like who gave you that envelope?" "I don't know a guy. Why do you ask?" "We think it may have been the groom's best friend who died in a car crash." It turned out the envelope contained only money. The phrase "One Love" was something the deceased's best friend would say often. It was something he was known for. There was a memorial Facebook page dedicated to the dead friend. So I log into Facebook and check it out. The pictures of him before he died looked like the guy I spoke to. He died in 2008. There is something going on here and I need your help. I've been trying to figure out for months, and no matter how much I look, I can't seem to get a lead as to what happened to my little brother. Let me explain. I live in rural Manitoba, near the small town of Erickson, about an hour away from Ananol, and have with my family for about 3 years now. Although before I lived just outside Toronto in the city of Burlington, Ontario, for what had been my whole life. When we first moved, it was supposed to make us happier and fix our problems that we had where we were. I loved the outdoors, so moving to a rural house on the lake was something I enjoyed, and my brother, who never really cared for such, quickly came to love it as well, with the two of us often going to lake or fish or hike. It was great here. The communities were all nice and helpful, plus I managed to make many new close friends and find a relationship that I greatly lacked back in the GTA, which helped me get me back on my feet and preparing to head off to university in September. My mother and stepfather, once on the brink of divorce and always fighting, found a new love for each other here, and my little brother, who is now 15, found his calling in the outdoor lifestyle that he never even knew he loved. It's a great life for us, and up until about a year ago, there were no real problems to speak of, minus animals in the garden. About a year ago, my brother went on one of his night hikes, in which that he took really often. This usually involved him going on a walk through the trees for a half hour, just around the house and coming back. My mother, being the somewhat paranoid person she is, asked him to take a bag and some basic stuff such as his phone, compass, etc. But being a teenager, he brushed her off and quietly left after we had all declined the invitation to join him, and he left on his merry way, saying he would be back in about an hour when dinner was supposed to be cooked and ready to eat. I remember the exact moment when he walks in the door. It had been 2 hours, and I was prepared to go find him and tell him to get his ass back home, as by then, my mother was getting very worried. The first thing I noticed was his eyes all red and full of tears, absolutely petrified and full of shock. The kid was shaking, and as soon as he entered the house, he fell to the couch in a panic until my mother rushed over to comfort him. After about an hour, he had calmed down, and we were all ready to talk about what had happened and hear what he had to say. But he said nothing. He had nothing to say. We tried for about an hour to talk to him about it, and he would just say that he couldn't, only talking about how he saw something deeper into the forest and how he couldn't go back outside. The next month was hard for all of us, especially for him, as the happy, nice, and absolutely full-of-life brother I loved had shut himself in, refusing to go outside, except when needed, and never into the woods or even to fish with us like before, and it made me mad at the fact that I could do nothing about it. After a month, though, he began to open up more slowly, getting back to his routine, although he still refused to talk about it, although by then I was just happy that he was getting better. When summer came, things had been getting a lot better, and we were all back on track with our lives. Although by then my brother really was ready to tell us what happened. He told us that he had gone deeper into the woods looking for a pond or something, just because he could. It was actually deep into the woods, and in the middle of nowhere, farther than he had ever been before, but he felt adventurous that day. While he was walking, he said he felt a freezing air of calm around him, as if he was walking in air or something like that, although he did emphasize how much colder it got the deeper he went into the forest, and how after a while he could hear almost like a whistle, and the sough and the crack of leaves in the trees, although he ignored it as animals running around scared by his presence. When he finally found a small body of water, he said that he was originally excited that he had found something new. Then he said he saw it. It was at least 7 feet tall, he said, all covered in what looked like dirt or like a wrinkled brown skin. Its arms were long, almost down to knee level, and it stood directly across the lake on 2 jackal-like legs, just standing there. When he first said, he was taken aback, thinking it may have been a bear. And what he said was an act of stupidity. He flashed his flashlight at the thing, and nearly screamed in horror, but found that he was too petrified to scream. It had 2 small black eyes, with what he described as 2 red, cross-like pupils, with a mouth stretching near cheek to cheek, shining wolf-like teeth at him silently. As soon as he saw the thing, he said he bolted back, not caring what direction he was going, but sure that the thing was following him, as he said that no matter how silent it tried to be, he could hear the whistling sound up until he reached the edge of the house, claiming that as he turned, he saw the creature take an almost cartoonishly large step towards him. The whole time he ran, though, he claimed that he felt the same calm feeling the whole time he was running, almost questioning why he should run as he bolted to the house. We didn't want to believe him. My mother and father dismissed it as his imagination, or maybe some disfigured animal or something along those lines. As he finished telling us the story, the next months would be spent with him fixated or almost obsessed with what had happened with him, dabbling in science and the occult, even going as far as trying what he could call pagan rituals to do answers, spending hours telling us his idea and theory as to everything, although eventually he kept his information secret, only telling me from that point on that we had to be careful and to watch out for demons or Wendigo, while trying to tell me about possible cult history and ritual he could try. Here is a kid who was always happy and full of life, and now he is letting this thing take over him and his life, and it makes me both worried about his health and mad that I cannot do anything about it. This kid has always been connected to the paranormal, seeing ghosts and having past life experiences since he was around 2 years old, and as such, I don't know what to do anymore with trying to figure this all out and help him. I tried to research, and I tried to go out and look, much to his tears and panic, that I must not get involved or tempt with it, but my searches for it continue. I don't know what else to do to help him, and I fear that every day I am losing him. My parents say it's a phase, and my girlfriend assumes that it is a teenager phase stuff, but he has never lied about things before, and I have no reason to doubt him. I will keep updated with any developments that happen with him or this mystery, but given my cards and the only statement that Refit loves a good mystery, I have nowhere else to go but here. Adrian. Update 1. March 26, 2017. After the quick response and many ideas, I decided that it was best to talk to my brother now, before he went to bed. It is a weekend, so naturally he was still up and about, even so late, so I could not wait till the morning. I went to his room and exchanged a hello with each other before I cut to the chase. There was no more bullshit here. After taking a brief moment to breathe, I told my brother that I was worried about his health, and that it was best for him not to be trying anything in the occult anymore, especially things in which he knew nothing about, while also stressing that I do believe him, that I am here for him, but looking for this thing was asking for something to happen. It was asking for trouble. What I do, though, was to bring up the Skinwalker and Dogman idea to him, which he had said he already figured out, but said that the thing he saw didn't have any fur on it, so it could not have been a wolf, and it did not have a dog-like face either, but it was more of a deformed humanoid, and he said that he wiped that idea off of it being a Skinwalker entirely. He brushed me off after this. It was a simple okay, but I could tell from how he said it that his eyes, that he didn't care what I said, and he just immediately shunned me and went back to his laptop again, to which I decided to leave. I could tell he was upset at my demands to him, and upset by the fact that I was looking into this by myself, and he is a person who almost never gets upset. So I decided not to tell him of a group of investigators, mainly because I don't know how in the world he will react to it. It is best to leave him for now and just keep an eye on him, I guess. I know I'll be doing some of the looking into that native lore stuff tomorrow, and maybe call around a few friends you may know. Adrian out. Update 2. March 30th. Okay. Good afternoon, Reddit. I'm sorry it's been a few days since my last update, but I have been busy and unable to sit and type out something. After taking everyone's advice, I've decided to do further research at home, in the comfort of a chair, then out to the woods. I asked around to a friend of mine who is native himself, who said he would ask around to some of his older family members and whatnot. He says that people know about the stories of wolfmen and hairless bears and whatnot, but said no one really believes such things, and as far as he knows, has never heard of anyone seeing something like it, with the accepted idea being that it was just a hairless or sucked brown bear, just being territorial, and my brother seeing things, to be honest. About him, he seems to have cut back on lighting the ground on fire, but still spends a lot of his time researching things and seems eager to go back out and look for the thing, believing that he has all the tools and knowledge to help him safe. Though he has yet to actually go out, being a high school student, he is often busy with homework and such. So, I have reached a point where I can relax and keep looking into things. I will keep updated if anything happens, and if not, then I'll just give a quick hello in a few days. Adrian out. Odd experience with scent. This isn't scary, but it's been on my mind, so I wanted to post about it. It happened about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I keep trying to replicate it, but it hasn't happened again. My grandmother passed back in September. She was a great lady, and saying she helped raise me is an understatement. When she passed, I inherited her favorite sewing machine. She was a tailor and seamstress her whole life, and it was one of her favorite possessions. It needs some TLC, but it's a very cool 1930s model Singer in a beautiful cabinet. I ended up putting it in my living room, and a small urn containing some of her ashes is on top. I've had many friends talk about seeing or being visited by dead relatives in dreams or whatnot, if they were particularly close in life. I don't generally believe in that. I was secretly hoping I'd hear something from her after she passed. Never happened, so I kind of forgot about it and moved on. So, 3 to 4 weeks ago, my significant other are talking while I'm cleaning the living room. The conversation was pretty standard. I think we were trying to decide on takeout for dinner. I walked over to dust the sewing machine and was hit with what I can only describe as a wall of scent. It was overpowering, and exactly how I remembered my grandmother and her house smelling my entire life. It only lasted a few seconds, but stopped me cold. It was so strong, it was like she was standing right next to me. The sewing machine was in her house her whole life, but it's been in mine since September, and I've been cleaning it regularly. It doesn't smell like her or her house anymore, and I haven't smelled that scent again since. I'm not sure what caused it, but I like to think it was her just telling me she was at peace or saying hi. Either way, it may sound odd, but I miss the way her house smelled, and I'm grateful I got to experience it one more time. A dream about my deceased father. I'm going to start with the obligatory. This is my first post, and I apologize for any terrible writing or formatting. My dad passed away at 60 years old on September 26, 2016, at 2:10 a.m. to be exact, from terminal liver disease. My mom and I stayed at the hospital with him every day, and stayed overnight once it got towards the end. I had always thought that if I was going to get proof of the afterlife, my dad would be the one to let us know. Family was everything to him. However, to be honest, after his passing, I never really felt him around. That is until I had my dream, about a month after he passed. The dream was extremely vivid. In it, I was mentally myself, but I knew that physically, I was back in the past to my childhood, maybe 10 or 12 years old. I was in my childhood home as well. It was nighttime, dark, and I was sneaking down the staircase. I peeked into my mom and dad's bedroom where I saw my dad, tossing and turning on the bed. I saw his eyes open slightly, and when they did, I said, "Happy birthday, Dad." The scene replayed a few times in my dream. I was then all of a sudden in my childhood bedroom. I was having a sleepover with my then best friend. We were still close to this day. It was dark and I was laying in bed next to her. She was asleep while I was watching the bedroom door. I watched as the door slowly opened and I saw my dad walk through. I remember feeling uneasy as my dream self at this point seemed to know that my dad had died and shouldn't be there. I woke my friend up to see if she saw him too, and I could tell by her face she did. At this point, my dad smiled at me and started to turn around. I know this is going to sound incredibly cheesy, but a bright white light appeared in my doorway and he walked right into it. That was the last time I dreamed of my dad. And the last time I felt he has truly been with me since he died. I don't know if this dream was me trying to cope with his loss or a true paranormal experience. Ultimately, it left me feeling like he was finally at peace. And he was okay. Sorry for how long-winded this post wound up being. I just felt so compelled to share it. If anyone knows anything about dreams, feel free to give me insight. Thanks for reading, if you made it this far.